What on earth is Billy Corgan over there cooking when it comes to the NWA? Let's talk about that today on 3 Count Commentaries. NWA, they have a pay-per-view on the 28th, but that don't stop them from making news. I've been trying to hold on because some of this stuff is too small time for me to talk about, one at a time. But if you pull all these things together, you think that Billy Corgan is over there cooking something. Now, Billy Corgan, let's look at what the date is, because I don't remember what the date is, but it was a couple of weeks ago. It was actually October the 8th. He mentioned that there was going to be a return of NWA territories, and then he said that they had 2 television deals. And then today, which being October the 18th, the discussion is that they have signed with the CW network and will be on broadcast television. Oh, what? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about it. All right. So first, they are rejuvenating the NWA territories, which sounds like a good idea, but it's not really the same thing as it used to be. All right. So on October the 8th, Fightful, NWA all announced that Exodus Pro Wrestling will be the first NWA territory of the Lightning One era. It says NWA released a video on social media where NWA owner Billy Corgan and NWA World Champion EC3 stood inside Exodus Pro Wrestling ring and announced that the promotion would be known from here on out as NWA Exodus Pro. Corgan also announced that the Exodus Pro Heavyweight Championship will now be recognized by the National Wrestling Alliance. Exodus Pro is based in Cleveland, Ohio. It says that it's an official territory. I guess this is the company that is owned or operated by EC3. Now, for those of you who are too young, or maybe you just don't know anything about the original territories, the original territory idea was individual wrestling companies that worked together to form what's called the National Wrestling Alliance. The National Wrestling Alliance recognized one world champion under the banner of the NWA. The key point here is that it was not one company. The NWA was literally an alliance of all these independently run organizations from across the country. What Billy Corgan is trying to do, from what it seems, is integrate companies that either did not. I've never heard of Exodus Pro in my life. I've never heard of this place. I don't know what they run. I don't know what they do. For it to be a territory, well, they don't really have much of a, or how independent are they really? And that really became the problem with the NWA is the NWA went from being a powerful organization because it was independently operating. These companies could operate independent of the NWA, but they were stronger together. And then it became a brand. And basically it became, if I slap the NWA name on this thing, then it'll be successful. And that's what it was during the 90s and 2000s with NWA TNA and NWA Wildside and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't because these companies were self-sufficient and they mattered. No, most of the time these companies you only really know they existed because the NWA name was attached to them. But of course, over time, the NWA doesn't mean anything anymore. So now they're doing the same thing. They're trying to slap the NWA title onto an existing company without understanding what made the territories work in the first place. And that is, you need to have power brokers, promoters who run these territories and are successful. Those were the people who made the NWA matter, not one guy and a bunch of people who rely on him. That's not how that works. It wasn't until the NWA was almost dead that was essentially one promotion. That's when it was Jim Crockett Promotions. Once Jim Crockett got control of the NWA in the late 80s, he became pretty much the only person booking the world champion and pretty much the only person who got the world champion. That's when the NWA lost a lot of its punch. A lot of the territories had died out by that time anyway. So Billy Corgan is seemingly missing the point. I know a lot of people are like, it's just one, but it might be some others. It's like, do you really see a lot of really powerful promoters sitting down with Billy Corgan and saying, we want to be a part of this NWA thing. No, I see it from people are looking at the NWA like it's another company. You know, it's a brand, like WWF is a brand, like AEW is a brand, like Impact Wrestling is a brand. Now, I guess their version of territories, quote unquote, will probably just be farm systems or developmentals or something like that, which is kind of like WWE's version of a territory system. Is basically they had these, Heartland and FCW and Ohio Valley and Deep South, and these basically were territories, but they were under the WWF, which was, the overall kingpin of this whole thing and was paying for everything. I mean, you got Vince paying for your production cost, and he's sending talent to you to train and all that kind of stuff. That was not what the NWA was doing. And it, from what it sounds like, and again, we are not seeing a fully formed idea here, but it seems like this is what Billy Corgan is trying to do. Is he's going to create not all these equal promotions working together, but a system where it's going to be much like the WWF, where the NWA is going to be like central, and then there's going to be a bunch of partnered organizations underneath them, which, I don't see that working, because NWA is not even the 5th largest wrestling company in the United States. It's probably well under Impact at this point. Still, Billy Corgan, he went on Fox News, believe it or not, because these are the only people that would talk to him apparently about his pay-per-view that's coming up on October the 28th, which I probably will watch, and hopefully I'm not as miserable as the last time I watched an NWA pay-per-view. But Billy Corgan said this: I think we're averaging 5 pay-per-views a year, and I think every pay-per-view is credible, newsworthy, and absolutely loaded with talent. And if you compare, let's say, where we're at on the scale of wrestling importance, I think we're outpacing a lot of our localized competitors. You should underline that. As far as what we're offering, we have a ways to go to get to the highest level, but that's the whole point of building the company. He said localized competitors. Well, yeah, you're probably bigger than, OVW. Like you probably got a little bit more money than OVW with your probably hundreds of millions of dollars in Smashing Pumpkins money. I'm pretty sure you're doing okay, but in comparison to WW, let's not even use WWE or AEW, which clearly they're run by billionaires who have almost unlimited sums of money. In comparison to, let's say, MLW, I don't know if NWA is bigger or more prominent than MLW. And MLW just did a pay-per-view and probably got like 35 buys. So I don't know what the buys are for NWA. I'm scared to ask. I'm scared to actually look into that or what that could possibly be. But I would imagine like OVW, MLW, and NWA are probably not that far off of each other. Now, Anthem owns Impact. Impact, that's basically in Canada. So I won't count that as United States, but I would imagine that they're far behind Impact in terms of importance, but not as far as you think, considering the way Impact sucks these days. But they still have a very loyal fan base who are also quite chill and actually just enjoy their product. They just like the product, as dull as dishwater as it turns out to be. They love their product. Now, Billy Corgan continues in this Fox News article. He continued talking about the territory system, saying it was really well received locally, but we've been really, really pleasantly surprised at the reaction from the wrestling press, how much interest there is. As we made the announcement, we got dozens and dozens of calls from promotions who want to be involved. We're in the process of vetting those promotions that wouldn't want to be involved, but for the short term, we're mostly working with people we have existing relationships with. And, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. So he compares NWA to Moneyball. Now, I have to set this part up. Overall, this is from Fox News. Overall, Corgan said the company needs to get younger and build the next generation of talented superstars, but understood the difficulty for himself and his colleagues to try to find the next John Cena or the next Kenny Omega. Excuse me. Why is Kenny Omega in the same conversation with John Cena? Fox News. Correct yourself, please. Anyway, so Billy Corgan continues. It's really hard sometimes to pick those people out of a lineup, but that's the game we have to play. If you've ever read Moneyball, that's the kind of situation here. We're going to have to find people who are undervalued and maybe not get appreciated and get them in the NWA system so everybody can benefit. Guess what? That is a really good point. This is correct. You do have to get people. You have to get them while they're young and then start building them up. That's what you got to do. One of my big problems with Impact and NWA has been the amount of also-rans that are on the roster and seem to be there forever. You know, when it comes to Impact, there's guys like Frankie Kazarian or Eddie Edwards or Moose or Sami Callihan or just guys who've been in Impact for years and years and years and no longer add anything to the product. I say the same thing about WWE all the time. I talk about Natalya or Kofi Kingston or whatever. Just people who don't add anything to the product anymore. You're just used to seeing them there. They become wallpaper. You know, they become like carpet. And NWA have a lot of those guys too. Guys who are just old, washed. They have no business being around here anymore. You're like, look, what's the benefit of this guy? You know, there's really no benefit to him. But as long as he recognizes that they need to get younger, good. I hate that he kept the belt on Tyrus for so long because people don't take him seriously as a booker when he saw talent in Tyrus. So that was mostly personal. But this was the big one. He went on Busted Open Radio. This was October the 12th. And mentioned having a television deal. So Billy Corgan says, YouTube is a terrible partner for wrestling. I'm just going to say that flat out. Lately, because who knows how these AI systems work, they've been squeezing all the wrestling content creators. No one can figure it out, but everyone's numbers are down. That's across the board. No one knows what YouTube is doing, but it is mercurial. We can't even put ads on YouTube because they keep labeling any ad, even if it's just Jim Mitchell saying, come watch Samhain on pay-per-view, it gets banned for being offensive. We can't find anybody to talk to tell us why we can't put an ad on there. Even when we're trying to spend money to get people to watch our programming, we can't. 5 years ago, YouTube was a good place to start, and it helped us build the brand. It started with the debut of PROWRESTLING, which we just passed our 4-year anniversary, thanks to people like The Rock putting us over and keeping us on the map. It's been an effective way. I can say for the first time, and I have to be a little vague because there are political aspects to this, but I can say that we have signed not just one, but 2 television deals. The announcement as far as where and who will be coming soon, we finally now will be able to move off YouTube, not exclusively, because we still want to be able to do stuff on YouTube, but we'll be moving with a network partner. I have to be vague. I can't say who, but I can say it's a top 20 network. I've been working on this for over a year. Not just one, but 2. 2 totally different wrestling-related products we'll be offering. 2024 is looking very bright. So let's talk about his first comment about wrestling and YouTube. Impact still puts whole pay-per-views on YouTube. So somebody's making some money off YouTube. So somebody got to. Otherwise, Impact wouldn't be putting 60% of their library on YouTube. All right. So something is going on where somebody is making money. WWE still uploads. They upload whole matches on YouTube sometimes. Not whole pay-per-views. But like, I think they uploaded the whole Gunther and Ciampa match from a week or so ago on Raw up on YouTube. So YouTube, they might still be making some money. It might be the nature of the NWA product that gets them throttled on YouTube. Or it could just be YouTube's hatred of pro wrestling. And that could very well be the case. But when he said this, people scoffed. People scoffed at Billy Corgan for saying that he had a network television deal. And now it's come out that, holy shit, he probably has a network television deal. And it's with the CW. The CW, the home of the Flash, the home of Arrow, the home of all the terrible Warner Brothers TV shows, is going to host NWA. Interesting. So this is from Fightful. The National Wrestling Alliance has reportedly signed a deal with the CW. According to Nick Hausman of House of Wrestling, the NWA has signed 2 TV deals with the CW. An official announcement should be coming, quote, relatively soon. It said Nick Hausman reports that NWAPowerrr, which currently airs every Tuesday on YouTube, will be one of the shows. The other show will be a reality show about the day-to-day, behind-the-scenes business of the NWA. Corgan said in an interview that NWA will remain on YouTube in some capacity despite the new network TV deals. Wow! Could that be? Now, before we get into the TV deal, let's talk about they stand on YouTube. Now, NWA had 2 YouTube shows, NWAPowerrr, which is their flagship show, and then NWA USA. NWA USA, I don't know how long it existed, but I think they stopped doing those shows about 5 months ago. I looked at the channel, and I haven't seen any update of NWA USA since May. From what it looks like, the last upload was 5 months ago for NWA USA. So maybe that show's been canceled very quietly because nobody was watching it, and it went away. Maybe that will be the show that will stay on YouTube, and they'll just relaunch it. Of course, that is unknown at the moment. I'm going to be honest. I am kind of excited about the idea of NWA being on television, especially broadcast television, because even though the CW is not a top 20 network, it might be a top 20 broadcast network, but it's a top 25 network total. I think they average like 574,000 viewers. From Variety, that's what we get. Is CW is number 25. It averages 574,000 viewers as of, I think, December 2022. So if they max out and get all of the available viewers that they can get for the CW, they will be doing numbers better than Rampage. So that's a possibility. It's a possibility that the NWA could do more viewers than Rampage. Is it likely? Probably not. But, still, I'm excited because, again, more companies investing in wrestling, the better. I always thought that the CW was a decent landing spot. The CW used to be called UPN. SmackDown used to be on this network, now before it, of course, rebranded and everything. Now it's been run into the dirt with all the bootleg DC Comics crap that they've pumped out over the last couple, Legends of Tomorrow or Legends of the Future or whatever garbage, Naomi and all these other really bad television shows that they put on that network. They run it into the ground. But there's an opportunity here with NWA to capture a certain audience, especially an audience of people who are disillusioned with AEW and WWE and can't find Impact at all. Like, if you can't, everybody's got the CW. I don't know anybody who doesn't have that network because it's a regular, especially in the United States, it's a regular broadcast network. How do you not have it? But this is interesting. I gotta say, if Billy Corgan, if this is true, because I don't never take dirt sheets as speaking absolute facts. If this is true, then Billy Corgan needs a pat on the back. He needs some dap. Because he put in the effort, he put in the work, and people have been laughing at him. I was laughing at him, especially when he had Tyrus as the world champion. I was like, nobody's going to watch this shit. And you know what? As soon as they got rid of Tyrus, things starts to turn around a little bit, huh? But I'm very, very interested in what happens with NWA now. And Billy Corgan's ability to make deals. Now, maybe he had to pull some strings in Hollywood in order to get this to work. But getting on television is a good start. Getting on CW is a good start. Now, CW is no longer owned by Warner Brothers. It's now owned by a company called Nexstar, and Warner Brothers owns a minority share in the company. From the press release when Nexstar bought the company, Warner Brothers Discovery owns 12.5% of the company. So that begs the question, is there some kind of exclusivity deal between AEW and Warner Brothers that would preclude NWA from being on the CW? Because when WWE has an exclusivity deal with a network, it extends to other pieces of the business. Like, for instance, they're being sued currently by MLW because MLW planned to be on a Fox-owned site, Tubi, right? So WWE says, like, we're exclusive to Fox, therefore you can't have MLW on Tubi because it's exclusive. And I would believe likewise it would be the same for NBC, where they have an exclusivity deal with NBC, and NBC can't put another wrestling company on a different network that they own or a different app that they own. So I would imagine but I'm not sure AEW has that same kind of leverage. I don't think they have that same kind of power. But I do question whether they can do that or not. I don't know. Would it even be worth doing, if we're being honest? Because the CW is a small network. It's been running in the red for years. I mean, such bad television that they were in the red for years. But the CW is in 100% of American households. Every single person in this country has access to the CW network, whether you have cable or not. That's a big, big positive. Just like everybody has access to Fox, everybody has access to the CW network. So that makes the opportunities for the NWA pretty much boundless. Do I think they're going to do 2 million viewers? No. Like I said, I looked at the average ratings for the CW is 574,000. If they even max that out, which they probably won't, they could still do very good especially for the CW, which is a very small network. They could do very well. If they can do more than 100,000 viewers, that's better than Impact. So if they max out CW, that's better than Rampage. If they don't even max out, but they do 150,000 viewers weekly, that's better than Impact. So, but Impact, of course, is on a shittier network. Access is like, number 95 out of like 100 networks. Not even everybody has that channel. But you get my picture. They have the opportunity here to really go from being almost non-existent on the wrestling landscape to being something that people have to pay attention to. And Billy Corgan did that, pretty much on his own, with no real help from the wrestling media and no real help from wrestling fans. Because the fans hate the show because Tyrus was on it for so long. It's the same reason the wrestling media tried to avoid talking about NWA as much as they could, because there was that tie with Fox News and Republicans and all this kind of stuff, and they were like, no, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to watch that. So without the help from the raging leftist fan base that loves them some AEW and some Impact, if we're being honest, and no help from the wrestling media, he was able to get a TV deal, if this is true, and he was able to get this TV deal. He deserves his flowers as being a great promoter and an extremely smart man if he was able to get this done, And look, it's probably not going to be a lot of money. He's probably not going to get a lot of viewers. But going from YouTube to Fight to back on YouTube to finally getting on television, and this could just be a stepping stone to get somewhere else, and he's only owned the company in 5 years, that's impressive. I'm going to give him some credit. As an entrepreneur, I'm very impressed, if this is true. Then, of course, I hope he maxes out his viewers so we'll have something to talk about. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll talk to you guys later.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.